Ladies and gentlemen, it is Survivor Series weekend from Vancouver, Canada, my hometown. I am Matt. I am here. I am ready for it. But let's get to the important part. Let's get to the guests. Joining us again on Cheap Seat Booking, I have a veteran and I have a replacement that's doing a run-in, card subject to change, ladies and gentlemen. First off, coming down to the ring from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, by way of Russia, weighing in at 34 cheesesteaks, we have Alex. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, everybody?
Cool. You got the belts out there. You're ready for it. You asked me this morning, do I have tickets? No, I do not. And also entering the ring from Raleigh, North Carolina, weighing in at 1,000 foam fingers, representing Cruising with Kayfabe. Follow them on Facebook. Mongo. What's going on, buddy?
Yo, let's shoot him again. What's going on?
Thank you, boys, for joining me, Alex. I know this was last minute. I had a run-in planned, and I had another guest planned. Unfortunately, things happen. What can you do? And so I'm glad to have you boys here with me. I've been going back and forth on the Survivor Series thing with you two since I tried to get tickets. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm sure it's going to pop up sooner or later. Let's start with some. How do you feel about the current Survivor Series evolution? We've now taken War Games. I believe it's the third year in a row we have War Games on the main roster. They did a few years where it was on NXT. This is not how the original Survivor Series went. Just from then to now, are you feeling this is an improvement? Are you feeling we've taken a step back? Have we lost the spirit? What's going on, Alex?
I think we lost the spirit. I'm a sucker for elimination matches. I don't like one fall to a finish when there's so many people in the match. I like to see, who pinned who got out of it, and whatever. But to me, War Games and Survivor Series should be a different thing. Like, War Games should be down the line, some hardcore thing, maybe an Extreme Rules event or something like that, and keep Survivor Series a classic elimination match. But that's just me.
Okay, Mongo, what are your thoughts on this?
I agree with Alex. I love War Games as a separate entity. I think, watching the WCW versions when it was his own pay-per-view and you had a reason to have War Games, I loved it. But yeah, I like that traditional format. Like when you had like Team RKO versus Team Orton, or Raw versus SmackDown, or NXT one in the mix. I just like, that sole survivor. Like, who's going to be the sole survivor if there's one? Are they come back from the odds? Because it added drama, added layers. Like, if two people were pinned on the opposing team, can they make a comeback? So I feel like that's lost with that, like he said, that quick schmoz pin once everyone's in the match.
Yeah, it is an awkward thing. I don't mind having War Games. I like having the War Games back. Now, the later years of WCW, it was a fall brawl thing. So I think they had it in September. Because Starrcade was usually around Thanksgiving. They moved that to December. And granted, WCW ended up moving a bunch of things around when they went from JCP to the actual WCW, especially as we got into the Eric Bischoff era where they were juggling things. We had Halloween Havoc. We had War Games. We had Starrcade. That was our fall lineup. I don't mind having it, but is this a case where, and I've been pretty vocal on this, in regards to TLC and Hell in the Cell, is this a case where we just War Games is the September pay-per-view now? Or maybe, October is not traditionally a really great breeding ground for WWE pay-per-views either. Maybe we go into that.
I say you put it in December, bring back Armageddon, make it Armageddon War Games. That way it's like an end of the world, end of the year kind of feel.
Oh, I like that. And you got that fresh start leading into the Royal Rumble as well. I like where you're thinking on that one. See, this is why we cheap seat book. We just sit around. We're drinking coffee this morning. At least I am. It's still early out here.
Coffee.
I don't start drinking this early in the morning until the end of January this year. Catch me after breakfast, and I might not remember.
Like a French press or something fancy going on.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's just a fancy cup. It's got
Fancy cup. Okay.
fancy
Oh,
cup.
I like the fancy cup. The fancy cup looks like it's full. Yeah. So what's your earliest remember Survivor Series? My first memory of it was, I believe, the first year they went to the 4-on-4. So I'm thinking it was 1989, because there was 2 years where it was 5-on-5. That's where I picked it up. It was the year before the Undertaker debuted. Representing my Undertaker gear here. You can get his stuff. Alex also representing it. Get his stuff on WWE Shop, or you can go over to Nine Line Apparel and grab some really cool merch from those guys as well. Supporting the Undertaker. He is not supporting us, but if he wanted to, I will take his money. I am not too proud to say I will not accept sponsors. So just throwing that out there, because I'm huge in the industry. I tell you, brother, sold out. So yeah, that's the 4-on-4 is my earliest memories. We had the cool team names. We had the Warriors. We had the Perfect Team. We had Rude's Brood. We had the Heenan family, which was just made for Survivor Series. You know, the Hulkamaniacs, the Macho Man, and all that stuff. What about you guys, Mongo? Going back to the first memory of Survivor Series. What was your first impression?
I had to look it up just trying to get the year wrong, but yeah, it was the 92 one, the natural disasters versus Money Inc. Just because, you know, being a larger American, so to speak, even as, you know, chunky kid, as you say, you know, seeing the natural disasters of the earthquake and all of them, it was just fun to watch. And then see him against DiBiase, who I couldn't stand because, you know, he was just buying his way through life. And, you know, I wasn't a fan of that. And then obviously seeing Undertaker in the first casket match, because I was terrified of Undertaker as a kid. So seeing him in that first casket match, because I didn't see his debut the year before, but yeah, 4-on-4 was kind of my memory of Survivor Series, is that 4-on-4 grouping, and you know, it meaning something, kind of like we touched at the top of the hour, where, you know, they're fighting for pride, they're fighting for who's the better team or which faction is the better faction, and everything else around it was kind of fodder. But that's my early memories. Yeah, just seeing a bunch of big guys in the ring beating the living hell out of Ted DiBiase's group.
Was that the year that, like, all the winners went to another match at the end of the night, or was that the year before?
I think that was 91 or 90.
Yeah,
it was almost like a tournament style where they kind of went into a different.
Yeah, they did a second Survivor Series match at the end of the night with all the survivors, and I think it was Hogan, Warrior, and Tito Santana versus like 6 heels. 5 of them were on the gas, and the other one was Ted DiBiase, if I remember correctly. I'm sure I will be corrected. Feel free out in the comments there. I see our viewership is jumping. If you want to jump in the comments, you just go right ahead. We will tag you in, get your opinion, and keep on rolling with it. Alex, what's your first Survivor Series impression?
I don't even remember, because like I was so young when I discovered it. And I'm the baby in this group, I think, because for me, I think the earliest Survivor Series I might have seen, I feel like, was actually what was it? Deadly Game.
Okay,
In
so that's 98. That was the tournament, right?
Yeah, so like I don't even know, but like for me, the match itself of like when a Survivor Series would roll around, I just thought it was the neatest thing, because it was just a lot of the stars versus each other. It was like the All-Star game is what it felt like, of, you know, who's gonna beat who. Oh my goodness.
My dude right there. For those of you that are checking us out on Spotify and Apple without the video feed, Mongo looked like he cut out for a minute, but he is back. He has the Undertaker caved my face in mask going on, Phantom of the Opera. Like, that's fantastic. Plus you can spray paint it black and be Rhea Ripley for Halloween next year.
Oh boy.
Right. All right, sorry, got sidetracked there. Alex, continue. We're talking about Deadly Game.
Did it running on me? Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I was talking about just like, I don't know. It was like the All-Star game of like you wanted to see who came out on top, but it also was interesting to see who pinned who made who submit, and who, you know, maybe it's someone in the team didn't help somebody from not getting eliminated, and then you built feuds that way. So that was my first thing of just like, you get to see people that you would never think that would ever team together for one night only, and, you know, beat up some other guys. But I feel like that gets lost with the war games now, because like Mongo said, schma's finish, and now there's 8 people that weren't even involved in any kind of decision, and you have all these unanswered questions.
Yeah, I mean, the War Games is unique in of itself. Now, here's a question. If they added eliminations to the War Games, would that add to it or take away? Because we already have that staggered entrance. Now, I have not finished Survivor Series. However, I'm going to assume, I haven't finished SmackDown. I am going to assume that for some strange reason, the streak continues and the heel Bloodline 2.0 did, in fact, win the advantage, meaning they get the third entrant. So shocker. I mean, that's it. It is weird. It is just weird how the heels win every year, going back to the 80s. But we have Jill tagging in. Should totally be elimination. What do you guys think? I mean, Alex, try not to get anything thrown at your head by disagreeing with her, because I know she's
no, I mean, I think it would be an interesting, definite feel to it, because what if somebody gets eliminated super early, and then you get the Stone Cold at Royal Rumble just looking at his watch, waiting for the other guy to come out of the cage or whatever, and you have the fresh guy waiting, and maybe now the teams have to reorganize who's entering when to maybe get that guy out of the ring now, and you could have audibles of entries and stuff like that, and it could open up a huge amount of opportunities for the match if it was elimination, for sure.
All right, Mongo, I see you nodding along. Let's hear your thoughts.
No, I love the elimination factor. I honestly loved the Elimination Chamber before they watered it down. And I know that was kind of their answer to War Games before they had the rights to War Games. Why not kind of make it like that? And maybe do the shark cages inside the War Games, make it that style. Instead of, because I always thought it was kind of tacky that it's up on the ramp.
Mm-hmm.
This is really hard to take myself seriously in this mask, by the way. But it was always it was always kind of tacky up on the ramp, because you're this could be someone coming in and holding the cage. I mean, think about Judgment Day when Dominic tried to stay in the cage and they had to rip the cage open, or just not having that, he said, factor of, is there really advantage? Because no one can win until every single person. So all 10 people have been checked into the ring. So yeah, you can cause chaos, but I feel there would be a shock factor. Imagine if Roman Reigns got pinned right away. He said, that moment of just everybody what the fuck? And if it had to come down to CM Punk winning for it, that would make a whole new story in itself. Is if imagine Solo pins Roman right away, and that place would just you'd hear a pin drop in Vancouver.
Yeah, I mean, it would suck the wind out of that building and the building next to it where Taylor Swift is playing this weekend as well. There's a whole big thing about that, but we won't get into the T Swift talk right now. But I mean, let's Solo pinning Roman is one thing, but what if it was Bronson Reed?
Yeah.
What if all of a sudden it was Bronson and Roman kicking it off, and it's oh, now whoever's left on the bloodline is walking right into big Bronson Reed, and Roman Reigns is dragging his carcass out of the arena.
And now you have 40 minutes to build on that.
Right? It's all about making stars. Roman's made. He's untouchable. He's bulletproof. Because when it comes down to it, he's either going to make somebody a star down the road in the big match, or he's going to get his back like Hogan used to. Jill also wishing the Bloodline match was 4-on-4 would make more sense. Absolutely would. I'm not sure why they squeezed this in, other than Bronson Reed is on a tear. Let's be honest. I know, Mongo, you kind of catch up on the highlights of WWE. You're more an AEW guy. But Bronson Reed's on a tear.
I told you I love the natural disasters, earthquake, and all that. I've loved Bronson since NXT.
Mm-hmm.
He beat Okada in New Japan. He's a serious threat. He's not someone to be taken lightly, and I'm glad he's mixing up, getting his push too. But I agree with Jill. I think it should be 4-on-4. I think having the Wolfpack bloodline, the new bloodline versus the OG bloodline, it kind of made more sense. Sammy being that last guy, because now it's I get putting Punk in there for the Paul Heyman guy's story, but he has nothing to do with the bloodline. So at the end of the day, it's kind of a weird shoehorn someone in there just to make that fifth member versus someone who maybe had Roman's back. The Usos and Sammy with Roman make the most sense because they are the OG bloodline. They're the ones that kind of terrorized WB for years. And now you have the offshoot, essentially Dwayne's version, which I think we're going to come down to, like of that bloodline, like Solo taking it. So I get it, but yeah, I agree with Jill. I think 4-on-4 is the best way because this just feels like a way to get CM Punk on the card. If you want my honest opinion.
Yeah, no, I
it
agree.
is. You nailed it.
I 100% agree with you. I'm not a big CM Punk fan. You can see he's just over my shoulder there, hanging from a string. Yeah,
I love that.
But it made sense the way they brought him in. Like Paul got destroyed. Paul needs a surrogate, and there's only 2 guys that you would believe that, and one.
Kind of
I don't want to say that the corporate end of it is kind of scared to touch him right now because he is mixed up in some unfortunate business from his previous boss. But it had to be either Lesnar or Punk to come in as the surrogate, and I'm glad they chose Bronson for the other side. But I think Jill nailed it. Like it could be 4-on-4, it should be 4-on-4. That 5th member just seems awkward to me. We'll come back
to. I have a tinfoil hat idea.
Okay, let's hear it. I love it. I know Mongo's got a couple of them around there. Actual tinfoil hats.
Because the why we have CM Punk in there, to Mongo's point, was Paul Heyman guy or whatever. But to your point, Matt, Mr. Lesnar has been on the roster page for a few months now.
Mm-hmm.
So if a Bronson Reed situation happens, and there's no one left on the OG bloodline to take care of him, Paul Heyman could pull an MVP and pull his phone out. Hey, Brock, it's time. We need you. And here comes the Beast Incarnate to destroy everyone Paul Heyman tells him to destroy.
No baggage.
And then it's the Paul Heyman guys, all 3 of them, standing tall. Sick.
I have the goosebumps. The blood has rushed to we'll call it the War Bridge brain. For those of you that know Star Trek: The Next Generation, it's the bridge. It's just lower. Yeah, exactly. I like that idea. Bronson Reed turns out to be the key member, and let's be honest here, that Bloodline 2.0 has some BMFs on it. I mean, Solo seems a little watered down, but he was just a flat out murderer in NXT. And the Guerrillas of Destiny, I know they're not using that name. Jacob Fatu, there's no holes in their work.
Yeah, Simone Werewolf. He's the star of that bloodline for sure.
Yep. Oh yeah, and I saw a graphic the other day. Actually, Mongo, it might have been you that posted it. It was Bronson Reed and Jacob Fatu, and it's like, let's let this tag team be a thing. You're looking, it wasn't you, so clearly, but I get a lot of wrestling stuff in my feed for some reason. I can't imagine why. But it's like, oh, that's the new Brothers of Destruction right there. That's the new LOD. That's the APA. It's like, we don't need to put the belts on these dudes. We can just bring them out to just destroy people. Like, it'd be like, yeah, you're the champs, but you're not the guys in the back drinking beer, playing cards, and being upset when somebody walks around their door, because everybody back there knows it's your ass. Could be.
I want to segue real quick to something completely relevant, because you triggered something that I had an idea for. But like in AEW, the Hurt Syndicate, I want them to do that. I want them to just be the people you literally hire to hurt people. And that would be a much more interesting direction, whatever they're doing over there, of just, we hurt people, that's our business, that's what they do, and boom pow, that's it. That's their thing. And then if they get a tag team title shot, cool, but they're not here for that. They're here for pain. And
yeah, it's something the tag champs don't want to happen. It's like,
what's the old expression? Cashing checks and breaking necks.
Yeah. I mean, that
not literally.
That well, there are other guys, but we won't get into that. It's the sorry, I popped myself. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a underutilized angle for a tag team. Like, it's like, you're the tag champs, but these guys over here are only the tag champs because I think, who was it? I think it was Paul Heyman that said it to John Layfield. It's like, the only reason you're the champ is because Triple H didn't want to work Thursdays. And that is basically, if you look at the Attitude Era, from the time they split from the Ministry forward, it's like the only reason you're the tag champs is because the boys have a hot hand in the poker. Like, they don't feel like getting up. And that could be Bronson and Jacob, but we're obviously going to have to wait. The tag team division is stacked. Motor City Machine Guns are back. They're in the big time. I am so glad these guys are getting a good run. We will get a little more into this current card later, but since we're on tag teams, I want to go back to those first two Survivor Series. The tag team, it's weird. The tag team focus matches in those first two Survivor Series. Do you guys remember these things?
I might have watched it on the network.
Yeah, I've rewatched them, but it's not like a core memory.
There's a real good reason for that. So it was teams of 5 strive to survive for 2 years. I think 4 is the key number here. I think 5 is too many no matter what match you're putting it in, including Elimination Chamber, but you can fix that by getting guys out. So when it came to the tag team focus match, it was 10 on 10. When your partner gets pinned, the tag team leaves. This was a 20-man match 2 years in a row.
That just sounds like a lot of clusterfuck.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why, like, when I see like 10-man tag matches, like when New Japan, where they do some of those 10-man, like my brain just, I can't, because there's so much going on. I'm like, who's legal? Who's on whose team? Like, I feel like that's when it's too much for me. So that's probably why it's not a core memory, because I probably watched it when, yeah, there's too many people. I'll just see who wins.
Mm-hmm. Tune into the last 5 minutes. Alex, you started with 98, so this you might have watched it on the network, you say?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely recall something happening where, you know, one guy gets pinned and 2 guys all of a sudden are leaving. And man, I hate that too, of just like, you know, all the tag team battle royals we've had over the years and everything. And like one guy loses, oh, now your partner needs to go. Like, no, man, you're a team. Like, it's not just, oh, what my partner lost, so I lose too. Like, you can fight for your team. But I mean, but 10v10 is, you know what? Maybe if they do it like a War Games thing, but like, you know, a mini Rumble, a 10v10, they alternate entrances, you know, and it's a 20-man Rumble where it's every other guy is on your team to help you, but then eliminate them, or elimination style of some kind or some. But no, like that was nuts. Looking at this 20-man match is insane.
Yeah, and so here I've called it up. So Survivor Series 88, the original Survivor Series. Here's the teams for the tag match. On one side of the ring, you had the Powers of Pain, the Rockers, the British Bulldogs, the Hart Foundation, and the Young Stallions. For those of you that don't remember, that's Paul Roma and Jim Powers. On the other side of the ring, you had Demolition, the Brainbusters, the Bolsheviks, the Fabulous Rougeau Brothers, and the Conquistadors. This match went 42 minutes and 12 seconds. I've seen
that. Sounds awesome.
That's let's be honest. That's Hall of Fame rosters. Powers of Pain, don't know why they're not in there. Rockers, I mean, come on. Well, Marty, yeah, we understand why he's not in there.
But as a tag team, they had great. I know it's mostly Sean, and people are going to always argue that. But as a tag team, they had great chemistry.
Yeah, that's a Hall of Fame duo as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if I would trust Marty Jannetty with a live microphone.
I don't even trust him with Facebook. Have you seen his Facebook posts?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you're not following Marty Jannetty on social media, you are missing out some massive entertainment. However, don't think he's telling the truth the entire time.
Yeah, definitely don't read it on a word.
I mean, then we got the British Bulldogs, the Hart Foundation, and the Young Stallions. I mean, Jim Powers, maybe not, but Paul Roma had a low-key, really good career. I think he deserves to be in there. Jim Powers, maybe not so much, but you look at the other side. Demolition. There's been a huge call for years. Why is Demolition not in the Hall of Fame? Well, it's because they were in a lawsuit. The Brainbusters. I mean, come on. It's totally the Horsemen, right? They got their rings. The Bolsheviks, Nikolai Volkov. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, maybe not Boris, but he was when you look at his career, he did a lot of good stuff there. The fabulous Rougeau brothers.
Tell me that wasn't the Cold War bleeding into the early 90s Vince McMahon propaganda. Oh, they're from Russia and Middle East and Europe, so they're instantly the worst person you know. You're like, wait a
100%. 100% anti-patriotism sort of thing. And then
I liked Nikolai Volkov. I watched him. I'm like, oh,
I
he's
rooted
cool.
for all of those guys.
Yeah.
What's
I mean,
that?
it's.
I rooted for all of those guys.
Oh.
Well, yeah, because the Americans always won. I'm just like, well, I'm not, so I kind of want the heel to win sometimes.
I mean, that's true, Alex. You were born over there. You've been here for quite a while. You're not fresh to Philadelphia, but yeah, absolutely. And when I'm looking at this, I'm like, of course I'm going to cheer the Bulldogs because they came out of Calgary, and I knew that.
I cheered the Bulldogs too. I remember people chant USA. I'm like, okay, cool. I like my country too, but I also like the Bulldogs better. Like they're watching phenomenal. Watching their. Still, not to derail, but I'll still never get over. We went to a Backlash or some sort of pay-per-view, and I remember it was the Un-Americans in the ring versus Santino Marella, and everybody was chanting USA. And I'm like, there's not a United States individual in that freaking ring.
Right? If you had Santino, he's Canadian.
I was like, it's literally Christian. He's talking about Canada with Lance Storm, and they're going against Santino, who you're supposed to believe is Italian. But he's Canadian as well.
Yeah, rooting for the ref.
Rooting for the ref.
No, I'm pretty sure the ref was Canadian. I'm pretty sure there was not one person in that match that was like the only thing that's United States is we're in the middle of New Hampshire right now. Like no one even knows the state exists.
Yeah, like Lillian Garcia is like, they're cheering for me, yay! Which we did. Lillian was and is fantastic. We will definitely get to talking about ring announcers. We do have a show that's been pitched to me about talking about the lady talent in the industry. So that's a thing. All right, so as Survivor Series went on, I believe it was Survivor Series 1991, we had our first singles match. My boy, in his rookie year, dropped Hulk Hogan on his head, which allegedly caused Hogan some severe spine problems, even though if you look at The Undertaker's tombstone history, that was one of the worst ones he ever delivered because top of Hogan's head was somewhere around Taker's belly button.
That was the safest tombstone I've ever seen ever.
Uh-huh.
That was safer than whatever Kane did to Pete Rose ever.
That was safer than Hogan's chair shots. Like,
oh god,
Hogan's chair shots are more vicious than that. Like,
yeah. And you know what?
We're not going to talk about his leg dropping his finish on a cement ring for decades. Had nothing to do with his spine being impacted at all.
No, not at all. Not a 300-pound dude landing on his ass 5 nights a week, causing problems.
Somebody's broken his tailbone and has back issues. Hogan, be smarter.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's not a thing. It's Hogan.
Yeah. I mean, let's be clear. History is kind of up to the person reciting it, whether or not they're accurate and can be proven wrong. So Hogan, not quite a Marty Jannetty, but interesting things fall out of this man's mouth. I heard his chair shots defended, just to your point, recently as I was catching up on 83 Weeks, where Hogan was nervous about hurting people, which is why they looked awful. And even Eric Bischoff would have preferred he never picked up a chair. So, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying murdered the dude, but
you can give a little love tap because I mean,
yeah,
I'm not saying go full Ken Shamrock and and have the Rock just blast your face to another oblivion, like, or the Rock was vicious with him. I'm not saying be like him, but I'm saying like a little slap on the back with it ain't gonna cripple someone. Hogan, like running
at
up,
least swing your arm or something.
Yeah, I mean it was not good. So that was our first singles match at Survivor Series. The Undertaker won the title. He was not going to hang on to it for very long, and he was not going to get his hands back on it for 6 more years. I'm of two minds. If anybody knows me, I'm a big Undertaker fan, big time. Probably my favorite of all time. He might have been a little too early for him still. And then his second title reign probably came a little too late because he was at the top of the card. He was producing good matches with guys he has no business producing good matches with, Diesel.
It's not wrong.
No, and honestly, I also have on my docket to talk about big men, and big men do not have good matches against each other 99 times out of 100. And if you ask me what's a good big man versus big man to watch, I'm gonna say Taker versus Diesel. It's definitely not Kurt Angle versus Eddie Guerrero, but when you look at the rest of the crop,
sure,
what are you going to do, right?
I mean, I always enjoyed when it was Kane versus Big Show, and Kane got to be the little guy and do some weird flippy stuff on him because Big Show can support the weight of Kane doing flippy stuff. I'm like, yeah, let him do some kip ups and stuff. That's so fun.
Yep. I mean, that was always fun watching those two when they had somebody that could base for them to pull it off. But
I think the only match I could think of at the top of my head, probably Bam Bam versus Vader. Maybe the only other, like, because they had chemistry and because they beat the hell out of each other, they kind of knew, like, all right, I ain't going to be slamming you as much as you ain't me slam me. So we're just going to run into each other.
Was that New Japan, or is that a hidden gem in WCW?
They have a couple WCW ones, New Japan. I believe there was a WBF one too. But unfortunately, his WBF one, because he had a bad match with HBK again, which is hard to do. It derailed Vader and W. So to me, when I talk to Vader, I'm not really ever talking his WWF from, because I feel like they dropped the ball on him too much.
I mean,
New Japan W. But if you look it up, because he has a match where I believe, looking at the picture real quick, I just looked it up. It looks like it is New Japan based on the lighting. Where he's in the corner and he just runs into Bam Bam, and then Bam Bam just picks him up and just throws him like it's nothing. I'm like, that's Big Van Vader.
Yeah.
The fact that both of those guys can moonsault is just beyond me. I just want to see I just want both of them to moonsault at each other and see that fly through the air. And
now here, put this in your head. You're the one laying on the mat. How are you feeling about that coming at you?
I'm tightening everything I can tighten.
Yeah. I feel like you may just have to throw your tights out after that match. Just nope, not worth watching.
I'm wearing my brown pants.
He had the right idea. See?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I believe you could borrow a pair of tights from HBK. I don't think he uses
those
the brown
2002 tights with the weird soccer mom haircut. No thanks.
Oh, that was the worst look.
That was a Survivor Series match. We are going to get there. I want to skip forward to the Lost Lands, because after about 91, 92, Survivor Series really hit the shits. I mean, let's be honest. Between about 90, 91, 92, there was nothing to talk about for years. So in 1995, here's what we had for our 4-on-4 eliminations. The Body Donnas: Skip, Rad Radford, Dr. Tom Pritchard, the 1-2-3 Kid. Okay, with the exception of Rad Radford, we got some real good work in there. Skip was Chris Candido. For those of you that don't know, Dr. Tom trained pretty much everybody in the late 90s that became a thing. And the 1-2-3 Kid was the standard bearer. If you can't have a good match with the Kid, you're probably not going to be on the roster as far as Vince was concerned for that Attitude Era. Defeated the Underdogs: Marty Jannetty, Hakushi, Barry Horowitz, and Bob Holly. Holy shit. That second team just sounds like guys is like the refs counting to 12 tonight consecutively. We had a women's match, which was rare. Bertha Faye, Aja Kong, Tomiko Wanatabe, Lioness Asuka. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for messing up those names. I'm in my Jim Ross era. Don't hate on me for this one. Defeated Alundra Blaze, stupidest name ever. That's Medusa as far as I'm concerned. Kyoko and you know what? And 3 other Japanese ladies. I'm not even going to do it. I'm not going to Jim Ross this one. A lot of respect for them, but I can't even. They've definitely pulled some talent out of one of the Japanese promotions there. And then we had the dark side, Undertaker, Savio Vega, Fatu, Henry Godwin. Can we just call that the BSK, please?
Right.
Versus the Royals: King Mabel, Jerry Lawler, Isaac Yankem, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley. That's an interesting squad. That's 3 Hall of Famers right there in King Mabel.
See, this is when I went WCW this era because no offense, I Viscera, rest in peace, Nelson Frazier. I was not for King Mabel. I hated the way he looked in the ring, like moving, like he just looked like everyone was playing Red Rover against him. Like he just stood there and we ran into him.
Yeah,
and it wasn't entertaining to me. So this is that I went more WCW in this route, 100%, just because it didn't get me to go rent the video at Blockbuster because obviously, spoiler for those who don't know, if you didn't watch the pay-per-view, you had to rent the videotape or find a way to get the video of it. So this was one I probably didn't rent because I was like, oh, King Mabel, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being honest with you. I didn't have access to WCW up here. Just being on the West Coast and north of the border, it would be about late 96, 97 before WCW got picked up. It was after the NWO became hot. TSN finally picked them up. It wasn't appointment television for me anymore. So it'd be like, oh, cool, I'm home. It's on, I'll watch it. And it was cringy as shit. However, the last 4-on-4, this was main evented by Bret Hart versus Diesel, which is always, Bret dragged Kev to a couple of really good matches, but that can be said for a lot of people in the ring with Bret. So our last 4-on-4 from 95, Shawn Michaels, Ahmed Johnson, the British Bulldog, and Psycho Sid with Ted Cornette and Ted DiBiase. Solid team. Ahmed was Ahmed, but Sid was one of the better big men to have ever done it. Rest in peace. Versus Yokozuna, Owen Hart, Razor Ramon, and Dean Douglas, a.k.a. The name just flew out of my head.
Shane Douglas.
Shane Douglas. Yep, we couldn't. I'm like, no, Douglas is right. Yeah, Shane Douglas. So that's solid workers there, mostly.
Hopefully a solid ring, too. That's a lot of beef.
Oh, that's a huge amount of beef. But this is an era like 96. We saw, not a whole lot was going on in there either, but that did contain one huge highlight. 1996 was the first match The Rock ever had in WWE.
That gold and blue and that young kid haircut. I do remember seeing this one because my neighbor was a big wrestling fan. And she was like, oh, I heard that High Chief's grandson's debuting. We should watch it. And I was like, High Chief? She's like, Rocky Johnson. I'm like, Rocky Johnson? Like, I didn't know who they were. But she watched the 80s and she watched the 90s. She was so excited. And then he came out. I just never forget to this day. She just goes, he's wearing my curtains, but I'm cheering for him.
Yeah, the wardrobe department. I'm a 90s kid. I was 18 years. No, I would have been just turned 19 when this one happened. I remember my buddy's parents rented it. We were all over there. Everybody's just say, "Oh, Matt's going to be here for sure." I'm like, "Yeah." And Rock came out and was like, "He's supposed to be real good." And they showed I didn't know I was back in the horsed back, but I was telling the guys no, he's supposed to be real good. There's not a whole lot of holes in his game. He's just young. And yeah, they nailed it. Blue chipper right there. But it was where exactly is this match? Yes, Jake Roberts, Mark Merrill, Rocky Maivia, and the stalker who was Barry Windham. Okay, he's got some solid brains on his side of the ring. Versus Crush, Goldust, Jerry Lawler, and again, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. There's no reason that match should have sucked as much as it did.
Without them knowing.
But right? But it did. 97, let's be honest, there's only one thing to talk about Survivor Series 97. I don't want to talk about it. I'm wearing the hat. And I probably shouldn't have now that I think about it because the sharpshooter was made the finish there. It was probably the last time the sharpshooter was made a finish for fucking anything.
It's such a great... The pay-per-view as a whole was fantastic. But that stupid booking decision screwed him. But yeah, I agree. It marred it.
Yeah, it was one of those ones where the undercard is probably better than I remember. But yeah, there's a shadow over it. No pun intended.
Title back and that feud he had with it and kind of how that elevated him. Like it really overshadowed that because I went back and I wanted to watch that objectively. I just skipped the main event because I can't watch the main event. I can't see my boy Brett done like that. I was like, nope. But yeah, I went back. I'm like, damn, if you could like somehow Thanos snap that main event out, it's like a solid 6 out of 10 show.
Okay, so the undercard, not as much star power to it, but what you're saying is the bell to bell was still pretty solid.
Yeah, like the workers were working.
I mean, in January, I'll probably have to go back and check that out when I can find it on Netflix way easier than booting it up on my computer. Alex, any thoughts on the Survivor Series 1997? I mean, it was a year before you really started watching. We're coming to your year.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was still a WCW kid, so I watched this one on Peacock and everything when it came out. And I'm looking at the LOD Ken Shamrock Ahmed Johnson team in 97, and like that looks so fun. And the look that they had with everybody with the shoulder pads and just that, how am I supposed to root against this? I'm 7 years old. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Walking action figures.
and Ken Shamrock was my boy. Like I was into combat sports as a kid too. And like when I saw him in the WWE ring, I was like, oh, this is gonna be real stuff. I'm excited. And yeah, that team was that was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, when the LOD would lend out shoulder pads, I did it at the prior WrestleMania when it was them and Ahmed Johnson versus the Nation of Domination. I remember that visual of them coming out. I was like, oh, that's badass. Granted, it's the LOD. They are next to badass in the dictionary.
Right.
Like that's all there is to it. They are jacked and they're going to hurt you. And they look like murderers because they stole their look from the Road Warrior. Ironically, so did Demolition, which I always thought was cool. It's like, oh, it's infighting in the Road Warrior thing before Max showed up. This is how they got the thing. This is how they figured out the leader. But yeah, the thing about WrestleMania though is I think Jim Ross said something about the Nation has brought everything but the kitchen sink. And when Ahmed and the LOD walked out after you got over that awe of these just massive dudes in shoulder pads, Ahmed was carrying the kitchen sink.
I love that. Like,
that was
gorgeous.
And that dude had a wedgie every match he was in. I've never seen an Ahmed Johnson match where I didn't see one of his cheeks. I just want to
I mean, Alex was talking about tightening things. Maybe he just took a Vader moonsault at one time and it just created a vacuum internally.
I want to know who hurt that man's thighs because he always wore the knee pads on his thighs too.
Yes.
I just want to know. I love the look, but I have questions.
Yeah, when you really get down to it, it's like, yeah, it kind of reminds me of when you got a kid getting ready for a sport that they haven't played before. It's like no, those don't go up there. They come. You got to put the knee pad comes down here. It's like no, that's an elbow pad. What are you doing? What are you doing?
No, that doesn't go in your butt cheek. Nope.
Yeah, exactly. No, all right, let's. So the first real true, absolute delineation from the Survivor Series 1998. I'm going to call this up, but I don't think there was a Survivor Series match per se on that card. That was strictly the tournament for the vacant title. Everybody kind of assumed Austin was going to get it handed back to him because he was better in the chase, yada yada yada. Didn't happen. The ending bothered me because they were just sort of poking the bear. What'd you think of this title tournament, boys?
I'll ask go first. That's your first one, so I know you.
No, I mean, I didn't really, because it was the first one. I was like, oh, it's, deadly game. It's a tournament. I get it. But as far as like seeing all of these dudes all night long, I was just like, this is neat, but as soon as I saw next year's Survivor Series, which was a Survivor Series, like, oh, well, no, I like this better. I don't really like, I don't think all-night tournaments like this because it's the same 5 guys working the whole shift. Like, I want to see more.
Right?
No, that's fair. I think I knew, even as a kid, it was going to be bad when the first thing that happens is Dwayne Gill faces Mankind. Like, who would eventually become Gilbert, but I just remember,
Yeah.
After Stone Cold he'd already been screwed over by Vince when Kane and Undertaker both like that whole weird pin where they both pinned him and he lost the title, and then him going to jail and all that whole like storyline. You knew Vince was screwing him over, even in kayfabe. Like Vince is going to make sure no matter what happens in this tournament. So I remember watching it and just not being excited because I'm like, well, Austin's not going to win because Vince is going to do everything he can to rig this tournament. And obviously, you're a kid, you think even more like evil. I was like, he wants to get it on The Rock because this was when The Rock started going corporate Rock. You're like, oh, he wants his shiny new toy to get the belts. And so I'm kind of like Alex. I'm like, I'm just seeing the same like 5-6 people wrestle. It just sucks.
Yeah, The Rock had come out of, I think, the Nation. He was riding high as somewhere around SummerSlam where everybody started getting behind him, joining me over on that side of the fence. And it looked like it was Mankind they were going for. They pulled the fucking rehash of the year before, did the screw job finish just exactly. What's going on, Jamal? We are ready for War Games. We're going to get into that card in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere, buddy. And before you ask, no, I am not going.
I think Hardy likes Alex's belt collection over there.
Yeah. Hardy, a big time belt collector over here. Alex got more belts than Ultimo Dragon. That's what he's got going on there.
You gotta recreate that picture.
I think he should. You're starting to remind me of a local guy we have up here that's currently just added the TAW belt to his collection. He's dripping in gold as well.
Ooh, Rob Nola Bear.
Yeah, you know what? I got into an argument with a 6-year-old over this, and I'm not going to get back into it today.
No, I'm gonna let the 6-year-old have their opinion. I wanted my Nola Bear to keep the title.
Exactly. You know what? That's all I can hope for is maybe
Nola
Nola Bear comes down here and takes it back. Right? Okay, so fast forwarding, 99, 2000, it's not stuff that we really need to get into. Even 2001 wasn't that great. It went from a tentpole event to something that's between SummerSlam and the Royal Rumble. But 2002, we had something different. We had one elimination match on the card, and what a match. Los Guerreros, Edge and Rey Mysterio, Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit for the tag titles, triple threat elimination match. I love a triple threat elimination match. 3-way dances, as ECW used to call them. I'm here for it. I think all triple threats should be that way. Put the DQ back in. Let's have a banger. This is the SmackDown 6. These 6 guys tore up SmackDown every week from the time they all got put in the same pool. You can't go wrong. That was, according to Wikipedia, 19 minutes and 23 seconds of absolute awesomeness. And it came out with the Guerreros, who honestly, star power wise, I think it was Chavo who was possibly the best worker in the match. And that's saying a lot, and I'm going to stand by it. Los Guerreros just seemed a little bit less because Chavo's star hadn't been shined up quite enough. But then we had the debut of the mainstay, the Elimination Chamber. Couple problems with that match. One, RVD probably should not have tried that splash off the pod because it ended up really injuring Triple H, crushed his throat. I believe he crushed his trachea in that one. It was not RVD's best looking frog splash, and it was simply because he didn't have room to do it.
And he didn't really know how to land it too. Yeah, and Triple H just kind of did the normal, like, I'm going to take this splash, and then, yeah, like you said, his throat checks out after that one. Yeah,
and he was gone until I think February or January of that year.
Yeah, he was definitely had a few months, and it kind of sucked because, not to spoil the main event, but based on what would happen with Shawn Michaels in that story, it kind of had to drag that story out longer than they probably wanted to because he got injured.
Yeah.
I'm going to defend my boy. I'm going to defend my ECW boy. Don't put RVD into some elimination chamber match if you're not going to have him climb the chamber and do something crazy. That was his function. Like, I'm sorry he missed, but there was no way he wasn't going to do it. He has to.
Yeah, I think that was
the whole goddamn show for a reason. I'm not besmirching him whatsoever. I love me some RVD.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big fan of RVD. I first discovered RVD. I didn't even really know what ECW was. I was just picking up a High Times because I had another hobby back in the day, and went, "There's a wrestler on the cover of High Times. Who's this?" And so that's how that went. But you're right. It's unfortunate that it happened. RVD has to do it. People are expecting it, but it's also the first time we've done a chamber match, and so it's like I could probably pull it off. I think I could pull it off. Let's try to
And
pull it
what's
off.
funny, you were talking about Tom Pritchard earlier. Well, his brother Bruce, their podcast, when they do he actually shows up for it. I remember they had a good one about the chamber, and Conrad was kind of asking, and he was just like, "This design sucked." He's like, "It was made to look cool because it was all steel and chain, and there was no give to anything. There was no suspension." So to kind of obviously defend RVD2, he's legit climbing steel upon steel, trying to figure out where the kind of jump off. He doesn't have the springboard like he does the rope, so gravity kind of took him there too. But yeah, I think that's why we remember that match being so brutal, because it was literally one of the heaviest structures they ever had. They had to get special rigging just to hold it up in the ceiling. They were afraid. He said they were afraid it was going to pull some of the scaffolding down on the roof.
Wow. I'm a big fan of Bruce's podcast and Conrad's podcast. I remember hearing that one. I've forgotten that little tidbit. What I remember most about when they talk about Vancouver shows is Bruce is like, "Oh yeah, we used to walk up the street, and I know I will take you to exactly the bars and the shops that they went to get," as JR calls it, chocolate cake, and running into RVD before the show down there doing the exact same thing. It's what we do. But let's look at the Hall of Fame here. And I love the way they structured this, because there's a bunch of the guys that, Triple H had been running over all year. Chris Jericho, Triple H, RVD, Booker T, Kane, Shawn Michaels. That's with the exception of Chris Jericho, I believe. Kane's in the Hall of Fame too, is he not? Yep. That's literally a Hall of Fame match.
Yep.
And there's no way Jericho doesn't eventually get in. Right. No way. It's just a matter of time and probably paperwork. Although I really do think it would behoove everybody to just shut the fuck up about anybody else running a promotion and just play nice.
Wrestle.
Right?
Yeah, right?
Can't we all just get along?
Yeah.
Can't we all just sing a song?
It's all pro wrestling. Damn it.
That's all I want. Me and Joe have been pitching this idea for years of just like, WrestleMania doesn't need to have WWE's logo in front of it. Just make it WrestleMania and have everybody there, like Wrestle Dynasty is about to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one member of the party not coming, and it's WWE. So like, just make it WrestleMania and have everybody go and have a match and showcase the immortals of every single industry you have.
See, I can handle a 2-night Mania that way. Imagine night 1, Tokyo. Night 2, New York. Like, like how epic that would be. It's like WrestleMania from the Tokyo Dome. You would have a waiting list for those tickets.
Yeah. I mean, and you could even put it in Mexico City too. Like, I love that idea. I'm gonna make a note of that, and we will talk about this in March.
Yes,
that'd be a good fantasy book. Fantasy book that card.
Done. I'm making a note of that. That is something that we're going to come back to. I'm going to try and get us a solid.
I think you got to get Jill on for that one too, because I mean, I feel like she's got to come on. If that's her idea too.
Well, we've seen her elbow a couple of times, so it's you know what, some people just don't like the camera, and that's okay too. Yeah. So Survivor Series, we got into from 2002 onward. I mean, 2001 was that Invasion wrap up. I also want to get into the Invasion. I think that storyline was done dirty because they cut it off probably a year and a half before they should have, is my theory, but we can comment. And that was main event players 5-on-5 again. Really, there's nothing too remarkable about that. I think as far as 2002 goes, it would be remiss if we didn't talk about the other botch, Shawn Michaels' brown pants and haircut. Not everything you try works out, and that's okay. But holy shit, did nobody look at this boy before he walked through the curtain? Like, wow. Somebody looked at him and went, oh shit. Literally, did you bring anything else?
Terrible.
We will take jeans, Shawn Michael.
I like Gene
Over-
Shawn Michaels.
I didn't mind that. I mean, it was perfect for the street fight.
But that's
Jill
a-
might be down for WrestleMania. She is passionate about it, and she's got her own WrestleMania moment. But we harp on that every time Alex is on the
I
show.
like how she emphasized WrestleMania. See, I see what she's doing there.
Yes. Yep. I get it. I smell what she's cooking. I am here for it. And then also in 2002, we had the most obnoxious human beings on the roster, Matt Hardy and Chris Nowinski. Big thanks to Chris for doing all he's doing on the concussion protocols. He wasn't a great wrestler, but boy, howdy, is he helping people now. Interrupted by, much like Vader, and even to a degree, Samoa Joe's WWE run, probably a year or two too late. Plagued by injuries, beat up, didn't have enough recovery time. His contract was finally up. Big Papa Pump made his debut in 2002.
Honestly, post 99 Papa Pump just wasn't him anymore.
Yeah.
I agree. I think his body was just too beat up and no offense, steroid abuse really took a toll on him too. Because you look at the Steiner brothers, Hall of Fame for a reason. You look at
But he
WCW.
never failed a drug test. Ask him, he'll tell you.
That's right.
I mean, I would say ask him he's a raging prick, so I don't really want to go anywhere near.
I wouldn't bring it up on the boat either. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think I think we can run down a list of guys. As I said, Vader being probably like top of that list is just a few years too late.
Yeah. The potential was always there.
Yeah. And Samoa Joe as well. I don't know what bad side he got on to end up on the announced team, but his NXT run was good. His main roster run was kind of except for that AJ thing. I really expected more out of him with the Brock Lesnar thing, but he's doing okay in AEW when he's there. And
when he's not there, he's filming movies and TV shows and stuff.
Yeah,
but I think that's good. That's good to give him that break. At least, so he can still go to high level. I think CM Punk having that break helps him too in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good. I think, like you said, if Scott Steiner had those breaks, maybe he would have been. Maybe if he didn't try to go so hard for so long. That's what I think of this. Like you said, he was just so beaten up because like that match with Triple H at the Rumble should have been an all timer, and it was an all timer, but not in a good way.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. And there are reports of attitude issues between the two. Maybe they didn't want to cooperate. I wasn't backstage. I don't know. I just listen to podcasts and read books. It's one of those things where we as fans are never really going to know the story until both sides agree on it. But I just think Steiner was pretty open. It's like, I had drop foot. I couldn't feel anything in my foot. I had this big giant brace. It's just a couple of years too late. And he worked the physical style. And when you look at the three guys I keep mentioning on this, Vader was not light, as far as his work rate goes, and neither Samoa Joe. So they put themselves through. They had just phenomenal matches outside of that. And by the time they got there, it just was, I don't want to say too little, too late, but it was not ideal.
God, the same with Goldberg too. I mean, he's on this card too, and he kind of. It seemed that was the most disappointing run because we never got the Stone Cold Goldberg, and we never really got to see Goldberg. And now he's more just he comes back once a year to annoy us. Like he went from WCW legend to please just go away. You're an AARP now. AARP now.
Goldberg's one of those guys. I'm just like, okay, can you and Ryback just please go over here and stay over there? I'm tired. I know Alex is gonna murder me because he's a big Goldberg dude. I was a big Goldberg dude for the first year, and then I realized that he was never going to make that transition from just killing people to having good matches.
But they didn't use him right. I don't fully blame Gold for the early 2000s. They didn't use him to what he was doing. Like I think it's hard when you're going through a run through and just destroying people, and then all right, go have a 20-minute match with this person.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I've never really
not what I do.
Yeah, every time I try that, I knock myself out. Ask DDP.
That's not what he does.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because the squash matches just don't do it for me after a point. Like, okay, cool. You've shown me now what you're capable of. You've shown me now your move set. I want to see how it integrates with somebody else. Watch the kick, though. All right, so we're almost we've just hit an hour, so let's we have a real quick look at the rest of this card here, Alex. Before, as I was booking you for the run in here, you were saying you were filling out your prediction sheet. So I'm going to start flat out asking you, how's that prediction sheet coming? Did you actually finish it off, or is there something you want to discuss because you're on the fence?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that like my biggest, I guess, fence would be the LA Knight Shinsuke match, because I saw an interesting video this morning of what could happen. Of Nakamura got his whole rework done. He's some Sith Lord now, and like, how are you going to make him lose after all of this rework and stuff? But at the same time, how could you possibly see LA Knight losing, because he's the hottest cake on the counter right now? And like, do I really want to put LA Knight wins by DQ because Shinsuke goes off the rails and we do this all again at Rumble? I don't want to do that, because a DQ finish at PLE makes me throw up. Like,
it's going to be a schmoz, because they can't have LA Knight lose clean, and they can't have Shinsuke lose clean angry. You can't. This is like fourth rebrand of Shinsuke at this point. Like, we're going to be reaching almost like Chavo would say earlier, when they kept trying to figure out what to do with him.
Right.
Next week, bleached hair and a golf club.
I was gonna say, if he comes out some like stereotypical, like, I'm a surfer now, dude. I'm just.
Well, he is. Here's the funny thing: is he's an actual surfer.
No, that's one of his things. Like, I start leaning into it, like, dude. All right, well, I tried the Kinshasa, but now I just want to chill, bro.
Chill, Sasha.
Johnny Ace's old gear and RVD's old dialogue is what you're looking at.
Or teenage position, Matt Riddle.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Absolutely. So here's my take on this. I think you put Shinsuke over clean. And here's why.
Tell me why.
Who's Gunther going to face down the road? I think it's time to. I think LA Knight can hold his own with whatever else he's got going on, especially with the microphone. I know he gets shit with being rock light, but we're missing that void. Honestly, it wouldn't offend me to see those two have a 5-minute back and forth in a backstage thing as one runs into the other. But I think it's time to prove that Shinsuke is capable of having the matches he was having in Japan here. We've seen it in NXT. We saw it in his AJ Styles feud. The Sith Lord thing, that is the best way to describe it. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I saw what I saw.
Yeah, I don't know who did that. I'm going to give you credit for it, but that's it. That nailed it. It's exactly what I was looking at. And I'm for it. I think let's give Shinsuke another run with the current administration. It might be a little more like his NXT run. And if LA can put on a good match, it's that old thing. We hear all the major players in the industry say it. It's not who goes over, it's who gets over. In this case, you can get over the right guy, and the right guy can also go over. And this sets us up. We are coming into Royal Rumble season. We're coming into WrestleMania season. Let's pull the title off of LA Knight clean. We've saw it. I mean, all the greats have done it.
Right.
Savage did it back in the day so he could set up for his world title run. You run through the WrestleMania card and you will see a lot of instances where the Intercontinental title match has the main event player for the world belt the next year at WrestleMania.
Yeah, if you have the workhorse title, you can go for the big title. It absolutely makes sense. Now imagine something like that. The promos, LA Knight go for the world title in Vegas is money. Yeah, like promos write themselves with him. LA Knight is money. He's going to Vegas. Like I agree with 100%. Have him win the Rumble. Imagine that moment, because Pat McAfee returns, get that pop, that place be hot, and then LA Knight win. Indiana would blow the roof off that dome.
Okay, well, Alex, I hope we've given you some food for thought there, whatever you decide to go with. The Sith Lord thing.
For money or dollars, you got to go LA Knight retaining, because it's going to be a DQ. It's not going to be a clean finish. I think our hearts want Shinsuke. I think we'd all agree with that. But if you're going for actual, I think LA Knight, because I don't think they want to take it off him yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things. Is if they go
He's
the
got
other
custom
way, I think
strap.
you're exactly
That's
right.
where I'm leaning. He's got that custom strap right now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, right.
So
I
you know
forgot
they're
about
going
that.
to want to sell more. I'm trying to think like TKO would think.
Yeah,
Oh.
no, that makes sense.
Okay, can you bend over that far?
No.
Should we grease up your head a little?
I do DDPYs, but I'm not that flexible.
Big fan of the DDPY. All right, is there anything else on the card, Alex, you were struggling with, or was it just sort of that when you got everything sort of figured out?
I think everything else I'm pretty confident about. Yeah.
Okay, so let's run the list here from WWE.com. Intercontinental title triple threat match. This needs to be an elimination match.
Oh, that would be so much
It
fun.
needs to be an elimination match, I would say. WWE hates those. I don't know why. I think it's probably easier to book, but I'm not an insider. I would have to talk to somebody that actually books these things or listen to more podcasts about it. Braun Breaker, Sheamus, and Ludwig Kaiser. Mongo, what do you think?
I don't think you can take it off Braun. I think they realized the mistake taking off him because they want him to be. He doesn't seem to be full heel, but doesn't seem to be full face. So he seems like he's a tweener right now. I think he needs to keep this momentum. I think he needs to go to WrestleMania defending this title to be taken seriously because dude's a freak. He's got the genetics, and no pun intended, and he's got the charisma. Like, he's what they wanted Ryback to be. If you like, when you mention, he really is. He's like, but he can work. I'm like Ryback. He is going to just spear the fuck out of people.
Yeah, I mean, he is the perfect blend of his dad and his uncle.
I'm just kidding about Ryback. My wife loves Ryback, so I can't.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I Ryback again, one of those guys, thought it had a lot of potential, and then for whatever reason they cut his water off, as Arn Anderson likes to say. And yeah, it's just I don't know. He seems to have lost his mind on social media since that happened. But
my grandfather's favorite quote: sometimes you think someone's smart, and then they open their damn mouth.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I gotta agree. I don't know if I think Kaiser would surprise us as to how ready he is. I think Sheamus winning the title is just going to be one of those things. I wouldn't see it happening for very long, but it's just going to be one of those ones to go, got them all. Just Hall of Fame checklist. And I don't see it happening here. I maybe build Sheamus for that one. Maybe he's the guy at WrestleMania. Maybe he's the guy that beats the guy at WrestleMania. But I think Braun's
on the IC title, yeah, right? Isn't that like the one he's still chasing?
It's the one he's still chasing. They pulled this same thing with Big Show years ago, and that's fine. I'm giving him his accolades. It's Sheamus, man. Like, it's Sheamus. That's all you can say. I mean, other than the fact that if his contract ever decides to not be renewed, I think it would be rad to all of a sudden have an open bar in AEW. Right? Yeah.
That's the guy that's had the Quentin Tarantino of a career. Starts out winning the world title, faces down to the Rumble of the King of the Ring, now going for the mid. It's kind of funny how it's like his career went backwards from what a traditional career went, and not in a bad way. Just
but he's solid. I mean, we have him to thank for the fact that Edge realized he could come back to work.
No, yeah, and also
because it was filming for Sheamus's workout YouTube channel where Edge took that spill, popped back up, and goes, wait a minute, I survived that. And that's what got his gears turning. So forever grateful to Sheamus for that. Let's move on. Gunther versus Damian Priest. I cannot imagine something I care about less.
Sure you can.
No, I probably could. We can go back and look at the 95 card again.
There you go.
But yeah, this is a big wet meh for me. I don't see them putting the title back on Damian Priest. He needs another run with it to solidify himself as a top guy, and he needs to be having better matches with it. I don't see them pulling it off of Gunther yet. I think Gunther is gonna be the one that has the Royal Rumble winner this year at WrestleMania, because I think we're looking at Roman Rock for the other one, and that's about it. Thoughts?
I mean, why would they? I mean, this looks like, the old regime booking to me of just it's the next pay-per-view. Oh look, it's the same match that I saw last pay-per-view. It's Gunther versus Damien again. And like what made me think Damien is worthy of it this time? He won a match for it. One match? Cool. He's totally number one contender all of a sudden again. Like, no. Gunther needs somebody else. It's not going to be Damien with the title this time. He needs to go find something else. Maybe we'll have some, super duper dark side match and Shinsuke as US champion versus Damian Priest for US championship or something like that. I don't know. But I don't see Gunther losing tonight. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Mongo.
Yeah, I don't see Gunther losing. I like Gunther. I was more hopeful of a better title run. I agree. I almost feel like they don't have anything for him. Like he's more just, I'm better than you. But this could have been the perfect slot to put Randy in before that. I know they used him for fodder, but have Randy and Gunther go or something. Just like Alex said, difference. Like, I hate the rematch like the following month because then you're like, well, he lost last month, so what's he gonna do different this month? Is gonna be like a no DQ stipulation where he has to, because then it cheapens the win. It's not like it's okay, let's do an Iron Man match because you barely beat me last time. It's nope, it's just another standard 30-minute wrestling match that you already lost cleanly last time.
So what are we doing here?
Right. So yeah, I just think the Judgment Day, they're trying too hard to book it like the Bloodline, like with this faction split. I mean, let's be real. I think Paul Heyman's doing a fantastic job booking the Bloodline on SmackDown. I think Triple H is trying to replicate some of the magic, taking some of the elements. It's just, I don't think Raw's the better book show, so I think it's hard to care because I don't think we're being told to care.
Yeah, I mean that's really is it for me. Is Gunther needs. It's hard to say he needs a heel factory because he is the heel, but he needs a challenger factory, and they aren't doing it justice.
Like that Jey Uso, he needed that Jey Uso, that white hot baby face. It's like, no, this is my show. This is my time for the belt. I just got screwed over for the IC title. Like, give me a shot at that. And then you get the underdog where he comes this close, and then you do the next match. Fine, let's go the distance. Let's do an Iron Man match, and then have him do that and have Jay prove he beat Gunther in a solidifying factor at Mania. It'd be huge.
Yeah, I mean, Sami Zayn did his part. Jey Uso did his part. It's not that he is lacking. It's not that he's lacking opponents. It's they do something really good, and they don't capitalize on it. His two best opponents are currently in the main event.
Yep.
Here's what I would like to see down the road. Now this would be, I would need a tinfoil hat as big as the Speedy Gonzalez's gimmick sombrero for this one. Damien's out. Brock Lesnar's in. Show me that. Show me the two guys I believe will murder each other in the ring.
Wow.
I put it for down the road.
Right.
But I think the Gunther's doing the best he can with what he's got, but this title just reeks of B-level nonsense when they need it to be an A-level title, and it's also ugly as shit.
Well, and it's hard too because they just booked Saudi and had Cody beat him and basically made that title it's less because Cody's the real champion now. So they kind of diminished any aura Gunther had with that title.
Yeah, that show's not canon.
I know it's not.
That's it. I don't even recognize it as a show. They gave the prince what he paid for. That's all.
No, I know. I agree with it. I'm not. I kind of.
Oh no, we've lost Mongo.
What?
You're cutting in and out. We keep going.
No, I was just saying. I agree. It's like a televised house show.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to say it's not canon because then I can forget that it was technically Shawn Michaels' last match. So I'm cool with that. Non-canon.
His last match was when I went to WrestleMania in 2008. You don't. Oh, Shawn Michaels. Excuse me. Yeah, never mind. I'm thinking Ric Flair.
Yeah. You know what? And I was at Stone Cold's last match, and then they did that thing with Kevin Owens, and I wanted to hate it, but I didn't. No, I thought Kevin and Cody were having a go, but they're not listed on this page.
Saturday main event, I think, is where they're doing theirs. If I saw, I think WWE on Instagram. I think they said on SmackDown too.
We're in a weird we're in a weird spot because WWE needs to build towards that, not just the Royal Rumble. They need to build towards that January debut on Netflix as well. I don't think they're doing a December pay-per-view this year, are they? So they're putting all their effort into
That
January Netflix debut, and I'm fine with it because I mean, honestly, that December pay-per-view normally sucks ass.
Yeah.
Most
this is where we would get the third Gunther Damian Priest.
This time
December.
it's
a strap match, you know.
A table match.
No, the chop is banned. That's what it is.
Oh.
And Damian Priest is going to big show. He's just going to step back through the table, and that's how the table match would end.
I just saw that recently. I did not know about that one.
Oh God,
that was hilarious.
I mean, that some of those accidental finishes or something we can get into down the road as well. Let's get real quick. Women's war game match.
I got one more.
Okay, go.
Real quick.
Yeah,
I just want before the Gunther Brock Lesnar idea, which is a fantastic idea, but before that, I want to see the Gunther Sami Zayn rematch. But now Gunther's world champion, and him show his growth, and he'll beat Sami Zayn because Sami beat Gunther for the Intercontinental.
Mm-hmm.
But now Gunther can prove, cool, you beat me for that, but you can't beat me for this. And I feel like that would be some cool storytelling.
I feel like they did that.
For the world
that was him and that was Rob Breaker and Sammy. They had like a trade-off of pins.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I think you're right. Reverse WrestleMania, like Sammy loses, but losing like decisive fashion, like you got lucky once, kid. Kind of.
Yeah, I'm world champion now.
There are matchups where I don't care if it's been 400 times. Yes, I will take more of it. Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, The Undertaker. You know, I could run the whole list down there. Most of them are going to involve either Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels or Eddie Guerrero.
Shawn Michaels WrestleMania. The shame they never ran that back.
Oh, you know what? Eddie Guerrero was so close to being considered the third member of the best of all time club with Flair and Shawn Michaels, and he died the November before it was supposed to be him and Shawn at WrestleMania. And that has been confirmed across every WWE executive and talent that was in the know. And it just breaks my heart because I think I got an Eddie show that I want to do. So we'll get into that down the road. Probably in February to commemorate his title win. Anyways, now I said I couldn't imagine anything I want to watch less on the card with Gunther and Damian Priest. However, here's a contender: the women's War Games match. I don't like when they put two of the same match on the same card. I'm not shitting on the fact that the women get it at all. They should have their Rumble. They should have their War Games match. They should be treated as equals. It's when they put them together on the same card, it cheapens one or the other. I think it would be okay to go, yeah, this year's War Games match is the women, and everybody be like, cool. This is awesome. There's no difference. So it's not being sexist or anything. It's just, let's make it special for them. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Bayley, Naomi, and Io Sky. I'm going to be honest with you. I am a big fan of 3/5 of that team. Two of them have not landed for me. And then we got Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, Raquel Rodriguez, Tiffany Strachan, and Candice LeRae. And for this one, it's 2/3 of this team that I'm a big fan of, and the other three I just a big meh. Any thoughts on this, boys? Mongo, you're live mic'd.
I think you got to have Rhea's team win. You got to have, because the heels are going to win later on, most likely. So you got to have the face win. You can't have back heel wins. It would just be kind of cripple. And I think Rhea's trying to show she's going through physical adversity, right? Like, I have a broken face, like you said earlier, dye that black. So I think they win. I think it'll be entertaining, but it's going to be something just to set up Tiffany and Nia having their tension. It'll be a big storyline device, I think.
Yeah. I would agree with that. It's all storyline. Alex?
I'm flipping the whole script, guys.
Oh,
let's do it.
Heel women are winning because you've got all them champs, and you're going to say they're going to lose? You're gonna have both your
Mm,
women's champs lose in the same match?
good
No.
point.
So I'm gonna say heel women win. Tiffy cashes in on Nia. And welcome to War Games, everyone.
So you're saying we're going to see the cash in at the end of the War Games match?
Yeah, because Nia's gonna be beat to crap in the corner somewhere. And
Oh.
she's like, "Oh, my partner's dead. Cool. I'm gonna cash this in and pin her real quick, and then I go
This
home."
is Alex, you're getting really good at giving me goosebumps, buddy, and don't take it the wrong way, because I'm only on coffee so far. That's really good. I
I
really
like
like
that
that.
one. Man, W should hire you. That one at least is logical. It makes sense.
This is what cheap seat booking is all about.
I like it.
And I dig it. And let's be honest here, this is our show opener.
Yes,
They're gonna
and that's
open
my
with
thing.
War Games. They're gonna close with War Games.
And that's my thing. Like, this is why I don't mind the 2 War Games as long as it's a sandwich. Like, as long as it starts the show and ends the show, and I get like that 2-hour cool down of not War Games. I don't want to see them back to back.
I mean,
okay.
yeah,
Like
that's
I'll
fair.
have it open and close. But
I'm still
having
afraid
one
they're
is
going to
still
split
cool.
this into 2 nights too. Have one each night. Because let's face it, it looks like they're splitting the big 4 into 2 nights for every one.
Yeah, they haven't
only
announced
5
Survivor
matches here.
Series, but that's just it. But I want to get back to that WrestleMania concept, so we're gonna look at that. I'm gonna check my calendar. Also, I just want to point out, Alex, you were talking about a sandwich with the women's match there, so that might get you beat up. All right, last but not least, the big one. Roman Reigns and the Bloodline with CM Punk versus Solo Sikoa. I keep wanting to call him Fatu because, I mean, come on.
It sounds better.
Yeah, right. It versus Bloodline 2.0 and Bronson Reed. This is heel all day long, and I am going to say that we are going to see the most electrifying man in sports entertainment at the end of it, or right before the finish. Thoughts?
You just destroyed my bracket. I need to go change that now.
Oh, my tinfoil might do that too.
All right.
Go ahead, Mongo. I'll go last.
All right. I do think we see Roman's team, the original Bloodline, stand tall because of CM Punk. And then, yes, I agree, Matt. We get The Rock, but The Rock's going to stare down with CM Punk, and CM Punk is going to call in his favor. He wants The Rock for stealing his Mania moment. He wants The Rock at the Rumble. So he's going to get The Rock at the Rumble. So you want to talk about your reverse booking. Last time he went to the Rumble, he lost his title to The Rock, ending that historic title reign and essentially derailing, which I don't think it was true. He's still facing him here, whatever. But he didn't get his Mania moment. Now I think he's calling his favor. No. I want my favor with The Rock. So he's going to have Roman call his favor with The Rock, like CM Punk wants to face you. And that's going to set up the tension for Roman and Rock, because Rock's like, I don't want to wrestle this idiot. Like, he's not going to be happy with it. So I don't think he's going to solely go with the solo yet, but I think that's what's going to push him is, you made me lose to CM Punk. It's going to break him. So that's what I think this sets up.
I love that.
Okay. I like the way you integrated all that. I like the callback because it was that was the year before Punk quit, right?
Yes, before he got injured.
He would quit the next Royal Rumble and bless us all with 7 years of peace and quiet. Alex, okay, we busted your bracket. We've thrown a couple of tinfoil hats at you. You got to get your own tinfoil hat. You got some thoughts here. You're going to pick up one of ours.
Man, I mean, I was just keeping it simple for myself of just like, if the faces have the disadvantage, that means the faces go in last. So the last guy to go in is God mode Roman Reigns to murder-nate all of his little children, 2.0 bloodline guys. And, on the same side as CM Punk, you're not going to have him lose either, because everyone chants his name when he's not even on that promotion. So CM Punk's going to win. Roman Reigns is going to win. They're going to, I think like this to me is the culmination, or at least it should be the culmination, because you have every single guy in the match in a cage, and it should end right here. And the OGs need to win, because these 2.0 kids need to go home. Tangaloa is not going to win this match. I refuse. That man can't even low blow a guy correctly. I'm over him. He's taking the fall, by the way.
Okay. You're right. Alex got some very definite opinions on that. I mean, I like the way you're thought here. The only way we're going to know is to sit down and watch it. It's a little bit earlier than normal. It's 3:00, which is a good thing I didn't get tickets because I had left late and gone, oh, shit. So
you would have missed that match you didn't want to see anyway.
I mean, yeah. It's a bit of a drive or hop on the train there and get a nap in before the main event. Right?
Yeah.
That's important. All right, I want to thank you boys joining me. Alex, thank you for tagging in last minute. That was super cool of you. Alex, you must have the title of most frequent guest on the show at this point. You are rock solid. I appreciate that. Mongo, thank you for joining us. We got this set up. We worked it out. Love being on Cruising with Kayfabe. Love having you on our show. Check out Cruising with Kayfabe on Facebook. Sign up. Mongo and Emily are doing great things over there, especially if you like AEW. And if you don't like AEW, there's something wrong with you. Listen to these two people. They will convince you that AEW is worth your time. And Jamal with our last one, OG Budline ain't losing, especially since Punk is asking for a favor.
Yeah, Jamal, because that favor is fighting The Rock at the Rumble.
Yeah, that's you gotta. And this is probably something that I should have made sure I saw the rest of SmackDown for, so I missed that bit. I'm gonna go check out the last bit of SmackDown. I'm gonna go get my chores done.
Go watch that while you get your chores done. Watch that little cinematic exchange between Roman and Punk. It was awesome.
All right. And WWE's doing some good stuff with that lately. But thank you for joining me. Thank you for Jill and Jamal for tagging in and dropping your thoughts there. Thank everybody for listening. Remember, if you would like to join us in the chat, just drop me a line to the show, to the At the Inn Studios page, or just to me personally, if you can get in on that. We'll be back in a week or so if I can, get enough time off to get this thing sorted out. And let's go watch Survivor Series, boys. And remember out there, it doesn't matter what show you prefer. It doesn't matter what company you prefer. It's all pro wrestling.